Have you guys gotten used to the new schedule yet, or you're constantly banging your head against the keyboard waiting for a new episode every week, only to find out that there isn't any? Or have you not even noticed and it's a pleasant surprise when a video does pop up on your sub feed? But either way, guys, I have an awesome jam-packed episode for you guys, so sit front and tighten up and let the setup wars begin. Let me show you guys the difference between regular shoes and waterproof shoes. So the shoe on my right is from Vessi, who's also sponsoring today's video. Not only does it keep my feet dry in wet circumstances, but it's extremely comfortable to wear. And that's because all Vessi shoes are made out of Dymatex. It's a dual climate knit material that keeps you cool in the summer and warm in cold weather. These shoes are now a part of my daily life. They're stylish, so they fit with pretty much any outfit I own, and they are so comfortable that I wear them practically everywhere I go, whether it's running errands, taking my daughter out, or just chilling in my backyard. And I know you guys will love these shoes as well. In fact, Vessi is giving all my subscribers a $25 discount on each pair of adult Vessi shoes. If you guys want to grab one, visit vessi.com/TechSource and use the code TechSource. We are kicking off the episode with a fully decked out music production setup by Johan, coming all the way from Sweden. As you might have guessed, he's a music producer, but he's also an engine builder. And this is the setup that he built in his basement in just 4 months. We got two massive displays right smack in the center, a 55-inch 4K TV up top, and a 49-inch Super Ultra Wide on the bottom. Both appeared to be mounted against the wall. But what's interesting about this setup is the desk itself. Johan went with a double stacked layout. He added some capital legs in between to hold up the two countertops, and he said he did this to hide all the cables in the setup because there were just too much. Although I'm not really against this, I personally think it looks cool, but I'm more worried about the upgradability. Like, how are you going to swap the gear if you end up upgrading something later down the line? Do you have to clear the surface and then remove the tabletop to get access to the cables, or like, what is your process on this? For peripherals, he's rocking a Keychron K6 with a Corsair Dark Core Pro wireless mouse, and it looks like he has an Elgato Stream Deck and an audio interface close by for easy access. For audio, he's got quite the setup. Two massive BX8 studio monitors sitting on stands with two additional BX5s that are mounted on the wall, and then we have two 10-inch Argon subs underneath the desk. If he needs to do any type of vocal work, there's a separate mic station on the right side and a MIDI keyboard right behind him. I mean, this guy is truly dedicated to producing music, and it definitely looks like he knows what he's doing here. Aside from the speakers, he does own quite a few headphones as well, each with their own purpose. Starting with the Hi-Fi Man HE4XXs that he keeps on the desk. Moving over to the other side, we have the DT770 Pros, the award-winning TMA2s in the center, followed by the Fidelio X2s. And of course, for gaming, we got the Corsair Virtuosos that he keeps underneath the desk. I guess one of the benefits of going with a sandwich tabletop is that you can't see any cables underneath the desk since they are all hidden in between the countertops. With all this gear taking up all the space on the desk, Johan had no choice but to mount the PC against the wall, and I'm glad he did it because it looks so much better this way. When he needs to take a break from producing music, he likes to game on his custom PC that's equipped with a Ryzen 9 3900X and an Asus RTX 3080 TUF. It's such a clean build with great cable management through the channel raceway that he hooked up on the wall. He also has a tiny racing sim setup that he keeps in the corner of his room. Johan definitely can stay busy in this awesome basement battle station. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Up next is a longtime viewer of the channel who has made some very impressive upgrades since he was featured back in November of 2018. This is what a 4-year setup transformation looks like, you guys. He went from a basic black and red setup to a very clean and minimal white on black gaming and editing setup. I just love the floating monitor look with the speakers against the wall. I think it's super clean. But why are the speakers so high up there? You don't even have them facing downwards towards your ears. I mean, unless you're a giraffe, that speaker placement is not optimal. You definitely got the space for it, so I would move them down a little bit so that they are at least at ear level, or you can just tilt them if the mounts have the option. For peripherals, he's rocking a K620T keyboard with a rack Talon Air mouse, but it does look like you can use a new mouse pad. Hit me up on Discord if you want a TS pad free of charge. I love the cable management on this setup. The way he zip tied the power strip to the desk and ran the cables behind the 3DR panels was a smart move. The PC looks like it got a very nice makeover as well. We got an i5 11400F paired with an Asus RX 6600. Such a clean micro ATX build to complement the minimalistic setup. It's good to see you again on the show, Marcqui, after these many years. Thanks for sharing this setup with us. Here's another returning contestant. Minostrith is back again with a revamped setup from episode 297, which aired only 6 months ago. The biggest change was the relocation of the setup. It's now against the wall, which opened up more possibilities for decoration. It looks like he's using the same desk, but he did pick up an extra monitor, a 27-inch Lenovo in vertical mode that he positioned next to his ultraride. For peripherals, he kept the same mouse, but upgraded his keyboard to a custom one using a Titan 80 case with Jwick black looped switches. I love that he kept the monitor riser. It's such an awesome utility for setups. Not only does it just add to the look of the setup itself, but Mino is able to use the extra space underneath it to organize some of his gear, including a laptop that's powering his setup. It's a nice upgrade from his last one too. We got a Ryzen 7 5800H with an RTX 3050 Ti, but he does have plans on building an actual PC once he has enough saved up for one. Moving on to audio, looks like we got the same mic and speakers, but he did relocate the speakers on desk mounts, which looks so much better with the setup. He's able to use the extra space in the corners and keep things nice and organized. I'm definitely loving the new direction of this setup. The cable management on the last setup was already pretty damn good, so I didn't expect anything less from his updated one. It's also nice to see him actually using the sit and stand desk in the photos, so thank you so much for sending these in. I also really like the cozy vibes from the last setup, so it's nice to see that he stuck to the same theme with the warm tones and the plants for decoration. This was definitely a very nice upgrade from your last submission. Thank you, Mino, for coming back on the show.
Something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man.
Oh man, that intro gave me goosebumps. Talk about a setup makeover, holy moly. I guess it was only a matter of time before this submission landed on my lap. This setup was a long time coming, and it's crazy to finally see the end result of all the hard work that Nick has put into it, especially considering your office was a complete disaster before. I mean, it was so bad, it would have been a great contender for the potato edition of Setup Wars. So this is Nick's setup. For those of you that don't know, he's a material damage auditor from Arizona, and it took him a full year to build a setup from scratch for gaming and work. So Nick is a crazy, super mega fan of Alien vs. Predator movies. He's seen all the movies multiple times, he knows everything about the series, even the characters' backstories, which is crazy. So he wanted to build a setup that can reflect that. And I think he pretty much nailed it with all the custom work and the decoration. It definitely feels like you're in a jungle or temple straight from the movies. Side note, I'm really glad you got rid of the carpet because that would have been a constant reminder that it's just a bedroom. You're able to really sell that look by going with this custom epoxy floor, so I do admire the dedication there. Okay, let's start with the desk itself. So he went with a 74-inch Carly countertop with 2 Alex units for support, and I love that he went with the green option to stay consistent with the AVP theme. He's rocking dual 27-inch monitors that he hooked up to the desk. The main one is a 144Hz Quad HD display, while the secondary one is a 75Hz 1080p that's mostly used for Discord, emails, and other work-related tasks. On the desk, you got the SteelSeries Apex Pro TKL with a Model O wireless mouse and a black Topo TechSource mousepad to bring it all together. For audio, it's got a set of Logitech Z533 speakers for primary use and the SteelSeries Arctis Nova Pros for gaming, which he has mounted on a custom-made headphone hanger. Okay, so the hanger itself was custom 3D printed and painted by himself, but it's really cool how it not only adds to the theme, but it's actually functional. He made a cutout inside of it to hold his headset mix amp, and below that is a ceremonial dagger that holds his headphones. Very creative. Speaking of creative, pretty much everything in this room was 3D printed and custom painted by Nick himself. To say that he spent a lot of time on these would simply be an understatement. The attention to detail that went into every inch of this room is sadly not given justice with these pictures. I'll give you guys an example real quick. So the wall mines that you see everywhere were 3D printed, but the original file was just one solid piece. He actually had to modify them with cutouts that you see here so that he was able to fit in LEDs. I mean, come on, that's pretty badass. Any true AVP fan that's watching right now probably notices all the rare collectibles in the setup, like the wolf helmet, which only has 1,000 units produced in the world. But what was most impressive is that he used a TV mount in the back of the helmet so that he can not only attach it to the wall, but he can also control the direction of the helmet. I mean, he did this for both the helmets on the wall. I can honestly geek out for another full hour talking about this, but for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna move on to the cable management. Exceptional work as expected. The wires from both monitors are tied to the mount using Velcro and routed underneath the desk into a few raceways. He even added the volume control for the headset underneath here for convenience, and all the cables eventually feed into his custom AVP water-cooled gaming PC. This was a very fun project that I had the privilege of working on with Corey from Designs by IFR. If you guys did miss the video, definitely check it out by clicking the link over here. Inside here, we have the i9 12900 with 32 gigs of RAM and the Asus Strix RTX 3080. I think the PC really helped tie everything together, but what really did it for me was the effort that Nick put in the rest of the room. There was a nice flow from one side to the other. Everything just coincides together so naturally, and I think that he did a really good job on the execution. My only gripe with the setup are with the acoustic panels. Not because they're not symmetrical, but more so, I just don't see a point to them. I feel like they were forced, like you had to put something on the wall to cover up the empty space. The only reason why it looks so out of place is because you did such a fantastic job with everything else around it. So the minute you add something that just doesn't belong, it just breaks the immersion that you worked so hard to create. I think a badass custom AVP logo would have been nice on the wall, or hell, even just putting 2 of your movie posters on there would have made more sense. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I was expecting the same level of creativity that you have shown me from everything else in the room. But don't let that overshadow what you've created here, Nick, because this is truly a masterpiece nonetheless, and one of the most creative and immersive setups that I've seen on the show as of late. Thank you for sharing this with us, and if you do decide to make any changes, please come back on the show. Wrapping up the video is a very cozy gaming setup by William, who's a pizza delivery guy from Australia. It took him about 7 months to build a setup for gaming, web browsing, and watching YouTube and anime. I mean, it was pretty obvious from the katanas and the figurines. So William started watching Setup Wars back in October 2021 and was inspired to build a cozy setup, but instead of using green plants like everyone else, he decided to go with orange leaves because he wanted something that closely resembled autumn, which is his favorite season. We got a single 24-inch monitor that's hooked up to an IKEA Beckhand desk with a custom KBD67 keyboard and a G Pro Super Light mouse. I would recommend picking up some cheap foam risers for your speakers so that you can get a better angle on them while also reducing vibration against the desk. There's a nice little pegboard on the wall that he uses to store some of the gear that he's not using, but he also has a shelf on the right side where he displays the rest of his Funko Pop collection. Cables are managed fairly well for the most part. I would have used a few smaller raceways to help keep the rest of the wires from hanging down, but it's not a huge deal. Finishing up with a custom Zero RGB PC that's equipped with a Ryzen 5 2600 and an MSI RX 580. It's not much, but at least it's his, and I'm definitely digging the cozy vibes that you've created with warm lighting and orange leaves. Thank you, William, for sharing this with us. As always, guys, let me know in the comment section which of these setups was your absolute favorite from today's video. As always, if you guys are still enjoying Setup Wars, do let me know by tossing a like before you head out. It does help out the channel a ton. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.